All right, guys. Hey, welcome to the Leveled Up Help Center podcast, and really excited to have you guys on. My desire and goal is to bring you great value where you can level up your life in all these different areas. That's faith, family, fitness, franchise, finance, and really what I want to do today is kind of hone in and really spend some time on the health one, the fitness one. And with that said, I know that I'm not necessarily the expert with that, but I want to bring people on that I know can really serve you and serve you well. And so today we've got Catania on. Catania, welcome.
Hi.
Good to have you. Good. And guys, just a little bit about Catania. She's somebody that, for one, is very, very smart, right? And I say that I don't have I barely made it through high school, right? I had straight A's, but I was smart by getting around smart people and copying. And that's what I did with the health center. I'm like, I want to get around the smart ones and I want to copy what they're doing. And I've done that with Coach Cal, which is your dad.
Yep.
And I'm sure you've copied a lot of things from him and stuff that he's brought. And really, that's the best way to grow and develop. And so today, maybe you'll copy some things, hopefully take some action and see some great fruits from that. But Catania, tell the audience a little bit about you. I know you've got is it a master's degree?
Yeah, I do have a master's in computational applied mathematics.
Okay, which just makes me feel dumb, so that's great. And also, you pretty much, as far as I know, like with Leveled Up or with the Treigning Lab down in Placentia, every time I'd go there, you were kind of running the show. Mm-hmm. What's the title that you have there?
So I guess I would be general manager. I manage the center down there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And guys, just a little bit about, I guess, like, my experience and my story. So, like, I got introduced to the Calavitta family probably maybe a year and a half ago now. Mm-hmm. I feel like it's been probably about a year and a half. My daughter got diagnosed with stage 4B Hodgkin's lymphoma. Praise God, my good buddy Juan cared enough to make the introduction to Coach Cal and have a conversation with him. I got on a phone call, and at that point in time, I was pretty lost and confused. And what I mean by that is, like, I had a lot of people reach out and have an opinion, mm-hmm. and well-intended people. And by the way, a lot of them might have been like the right opinion. They might have actually been good stuff. But I didn't know what I didn't know. And it's hard to move on anything if you don't trust where it's coming from. Like, I didn't know the source of it. And I'm sitting here as a dad thinking, like, I need to do anything and everything. And I'm going to do anything and everything in my power to make sure my baby girl is going to be okay. And when I had that conversation with Coach Cal initially, I just felt this sense of calm and confidence that I had found somebody that I could just trust, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. And I think that, for one, when we're trying to get better in different areas of our life, that's the first thing, is like just trusting. Then we don't have to overthink it, because overthinking it causes us to just be stressed out, overwhelmed, and that's never going to put us in a state where we can actually progress. And so we moved forward with a plan that Coach Cal put in place. Catania, I remember the first time I met you, I felt like the best way, and I told Angelica and the team this, like, I just felt like you were like a hope dealer, right? like you were dealing hope. Like, I walked through, and the way you connected with Parker, it was. I mean, I don't know how to put it in words. Like, it's one of those things where it's just experienced. Mm. Like, you could just tell that you really cared, and you wanted to connect with her, and you wanted her to know that, like, hey, we've got you, right? And you're almost like aware of the fact that she was going through something really scary, and she needed a friend and somebody that could connect with her, mm-hmm. and that cared about her, mm-hmm. you know. And I've told the ladies that with Leveled Up Health Center, like, you know, it's not just a physical battle. It's also a mental battle. It's also a spiritual battle. That they all kind of all play a part. And when somebody walks in, we want them to feel this sense of hope. And I took that from you, because I was like, I can just tell you, girls, like, what I experience, and I want everybody that walks through our center, you know, as we're in a partner with you guys, I want them to not lose it. That's got to be a part of our DNA. Yeah. And it's been pretty cool. Like, Angelica does all kinds of crazy stuff for the kids, and okay. you know, which I didn't even know about. And then Parker, you know, obviously she comes to the center every week, and she's always got some creative things to just make them feel special and make them feel valued, whether it's a scavenger hunt, a gift. And Parker and Bronx come back, like, excited, and that's just, I feel like, a part of the overall DNA that you've had, and that we're obviously wanting to implement and have as well. But I want to thank you for doing that. You know, thank you for making us feel like, hey, we're going to be okay. And I think that's the best way I could put it, is I left feeling like, hey, we're going to be okay. And I think that's the most important thing somebody needs to feel when they're facing a battle, because it's like what scripture says is the enemy prowls around like a roaring lion. Like, it's not a real lion, it's like a roaring lion, but I feel like the bigger the battle, the louder that roar, and we just need somebody to come and say, hey, it's going to be all right. Sure. You're going to be okay. And so thank you for that. I want to dive into some things that I think people are thinking about. I know that for me, and I don't know if this is just because I've been more aware or focused on health because of what I've walked through, but I don't know if that's the case. I think it seems like the trend or the landscape for people's awareness and health and things like that has changed. Have you seen any kind of like adjustments in the landscape of like the overall health and kind of fitness sector?
Yeah, definitely. I think that there's a lot more information out there. And when you're talking about like information overload and like overthinking things, that's a real thing. And it's because there's like, you have TikTok, you have YouTube, you have Instagram, and things are so accessible on your phone all the time, which can be a good thing and it can be a bad thing, right? And so I think that people are more aware of adjunctive treatments outside of the traditional medical field, a lot more aware than they were, let's say, I mean, even since like COVID, right? I feel like COVID and that kind of stimulated people wanting to do things themselves, wanting to dig into things themselves. And so I've just seen a shift in like the overall kind of mentality. Like, people are more open to things like hyperbarics, or let me change my food, let me change my water, my fitness, stuff like that. Let me try these things before I just take a pill, right? And so definitely I think people are more open to hearing about that kind of thing and then doing the research themselves. Yeah,
and I think like that's, I feel like I've seen the same thing. And at first I was like, is that just because it's been so important to me given the situation? I'm like, I don't think so, because I'll watch a lot of big name podcasts. I've got a good personal growth regimen because I know like by nature I'm a mess, so I got to always try to get a little bit better. And
aren't we all?
Yeah, and it just seems like most people are talking about that. They have people on talking about it, and which is a beautiful thing, because like the first step of like getting better is being open-minded and then building awareness of like, okay, what does it look like for me now?
Sure.
I've seen a lot about like toxicity, heavy metals, these hormone disruptors, all these different things that kind of like seem to be at war against the healthy body, right? If anybody's saying, hey, I want a healthy body, those things seem to be kind of the enemy of that. What's kind of your viewpoint on how big of a deal those things play on somebody that's looking to have a healthy body, like having those things kind of taken out? How big of a deal is for somebody to say, hey, I need to make some adjustments maybe with some of these things that I'm putting into my body or my body's exposed to?
Yeah, I think it's everything, right? If you change small things, right, but you're continuing to feed the bad habits or the inflammation that's occurring in your body, then you're putting a Band-Aid on one thing, but you're making a bigger hole somewhere else, right? Or you're making a wound somewhere else that then you're going to have to try to address. So I think to do it all as a whole is really important, and that's the way the body works, right? It's everything interacts, and so if you're seeing symptoms in one place, right, that's probably to do with something like an underlying factor. So if you do something to address just the symptom, you're not really taking care of the problem. So to take care of like all the changes, I think that's where you're going to see these big results, and that's when you're going to feel the best, you're going to be healthy. So I think doing it all as a whole, making all the changes, it's everything. Yeah. You have to.
Well, I love what you just said, because I think it's something that made a lot of sense to me when I first started talking to the team, was like, at the end of the day, there's certain things that if we're exposed to frequently, we're kind of creating like almost like a breeding ground for the illnesses or disease or ailments. And it seems like that most of what's out there as far as treatment goes, it's to just treat the symptom, not the root. And for me, I almost got, I don't know if it was confidence or just assurance that hey, we can get this thing beat, when I realized it's a root cause. Like everything that happened with Parker, it was in her body. And so like if the body produced that, then we can help the body get rid of it.
Yeah.
And I think that was something that I kind of came to an awareness as talking to you guys that, hey, it's not just like, oh, we don't know what caused this. Let's just throw some stuff and try to treat the symptom and try to, get rid of it. But let's also make sure we address the root, because the root's the source of the fruit, right? The root's the source of the symptom. So talk about like, I feel like nowadays there's so much stuff to do. Like there's so many different things, and I feel like confused people do nothing, right? Like,
Okay, sure.
So if we're looking at a couple things that we could say, and I guess the question also is like, does a couple things help, or do they have to do everything, or does it all kind of help a little bit when it comes to lowering down the toxicity levels and things like that? Or so somebody's not overwhelmed, they kind of take these steps into starting to reduce these things that lead to hormone disruption and all that other kind of stuff.
Yeah. I think to start with some small things, and then just as like human beings, like you go to the gym a couple times, right? You might lose like motivation, or you might get a little bit discouraged, but what keeps you coming back is the results, right? So I think to start with some small changes that have a big impact on your life and on your health is going to be where then you're going to be motivated. Then you're going to want to make the other changes, and then you're going to get these life flip arounds, right? So I think a big one is water. Our water is so contaminated. I think down in Orange County that's where I live. It has some of the worst water, I think, in the nation.
Really?
Yeah, I think there's over 72 contaminants and just carcinogens, so things that cause cancer, just in the water. And so if I could like pinpoint something small that you could change that's going to have a big impact on your health, I would say that's huge. We do the Pristine filter, quick plug. And I like it. It removes the toxins, and then it remineralizes, so that way you're not drinking dead water, right? Your body needs the minerals, like God made water. It uses those, and then it alkalines it as well. And so, I mean, that's something that I implement myself. My siblings, my little sister specifically makes fun of me because I bring my own water bottle to a restaurant. Yeah. But, I mean, water is the most prolific molecule in your body, right? So why would you want to infuse your body with something that's going to be toxic, right? Yeah. So I think water is a huge thing. And then also your foods, right? We are, in my opinion, and I'm not a doctor, but we're poisoned with the foods that we eat.
Yeah, and the research and data shows that.
Yes. Yeah, it does. And I think it shows it, but again, we're bombarded with so much information all the time. And how do you decide what information is trustworthy? You got to dig into it a little bit, right? But I think the food too is that's a big component as well. And just, like pesticides are a huge cause of all kinds of different conditions, and that has a lot of research behind it too. Yeah. But the easy fix and the easy and the cheaper thing is to buy the food that's not organic, or to just kind of remain kind of willfully blind to it, right? And hope, maybe it's not going to happen to me. So I would say like water and food.
Yeah, I love that, because well, for one, it's something that like food, like that's a lot, right? Like, because we eat all day, every day, right? Right. And so like even like taking a baby step to maybe like say I'm gonna eat, I'm gonna start buying organic this or that or what have you, right? I think that first step, and then you, like you said, you start to see the results and start moving in the right direction. It's kind of like the person that, we're just right here in the new year. We're just starting 2025. The person that's more likely to fail and getting any disciplines established is one that has too many disciplines. You know what I mean? Like right. I'm gonna lose 20 pounds and I'm gonna read the Bible in a year and I'm gonna pray for 10 minutes a day and I'm gonna do this. It's like, dude, you've not done none of those. So like you're doing them all. Why don't you just pick one thing? You know, like floss. Just make that be your discipline and then build upon it, right? Exactly. And so I think that's a big deal. Like just picking that one thing maybe. And for water, like when you just, if anybody just chat GPTs this stuff, right, and you look at it, it'll blow your mind. What's that website do you know what it is?
I don't
Where
know
you can look it up and you can type in the zip code? We'll put it in the description, because Coach Cal gave it to me.
So I never have to type
Okay, send it to me and we'll put it below so you guys can click the link and it'll take you to see what's in your water. It'll blow your mind. I'm like, when I looked at it and Coach Cal told me, I'm like, there's no way. Right. Like they could just allow this to happen, but it is what it is. Like how it'll show you like the normal level or like what the non-toxic, like I'm not gonna die level, and it's like way higher than that. I think it's terrible. Yeah. I want to say it was arsen that was really high. Arsenic in the high desert.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because I remember Coach Cal saying that when Juan first started going down to the center, that he was like detoxing it in the garage when he was working out, like it was just coming through his pores because he had stopped exposing his body, which had been conditioned with that, which is kind of scary to think of. It's like no different than somebody that's been doing drugs for so long, or if you're drinking alcohol every single day, when you stop, your body actually goes the wrong direction, right? Like it's worse before it gets better because it's so conditioned to that. And our bodies, a lot of times we're conditioned with these toxins, but once you detox and get past that, like your health goes to a whole new level. Right. But it's crazy to think that you don't know it. So like a lot of us, we don't know that our health and what we're living at can be significantly better because we're just familiar and it's our normal. Yeah. That's the thing that messes me up is like, maybe you're watching this and you're like, I feel all right. I feel good. But what if there's like 7 levels above that level of good because you're just used to that feeling? But if you started to remove and adjust and put some things in place that would repair your cells and help with oxidative stress, all these things, and now you're like, oh my gosh, I never felt, I didn't know I could feel this good. Have you ever experienced somebody that's like, they've done the hyperbaric chamber, they've done the red light, maybe they've done molecular hydrogen, and they're like, I didn't know I could actually feel this good?
Oh, yeah, all the time. We get people like that. But I think what's important to recognize as well is that we spend, like when you're talking about being infused with toxins, we spend our whole lives essentially like creating damage in our bodies. And then we want to go do something one time that's going to totally turn it around. And that's not how the body works. Yeah. Right? And so to do something for a prolonged period of time, that's when you're going to see the most benefit. Right? So I do get people, and I experience it myself, like I'll jump in the chamber or I'll do the red light and immediately I'll feel better. Right? But doing that long term and accumulating those effects, turning the body back to what it's supposed to be, that is the key, right? You want to, nothing's quick in life, right? I think the Bible talks about that, right? Yeah. There's no quick scheme to get rich. There's no learning, there's no progression if something just comes easy, right? And that's how the body works too. You have to take the time, to put in the time, do something consistently to see the results that you want. But I mean, yeah, I get people who are coming out of the chamber and they're like, oh, I'm gonna go rearrange my whole house, like, yeah, right. Or the light bed is big too. Like people get off that and they're like, man, like I haven't felt this good in a long time, which makes sense because you're giving your body what it was intended to have, right? Something like the red light or the hyperbaric is just based off of, like that's how God intended us to utilize, like the sun, the oxygen, the atmosphere, right? So. Yeah, you experience the benefit right away. But I
love that. Yeah. I mean, so it's like the person that's like, I'm going to save 1 month and then I'm going to be retired, right? It's like nothing works that way.
Exactly.
Exactly. And I love that because like consistency, it's not an attractive word. Like nobody's like, oh, consistency, that's what I want to, but like that's the ticket to most everything is consistency and discipline. And and you will feel better, right? You are going the right direction, but consistency is going to be intensity, right? So it's a person that like goes to the gym for 5.5 hours one day because like they look in the mirror, they're like, God, I hate the way I look. Like, I'm going to get this thing fixed. And they go work out for 6 straight hours and then they don't go back. Like, well, that was great, but the person that works out for just 25 minutes for the next 60 days is going to have a significantly better result, right? 100%. And so I think that's a big deal with the health center. And the reason why we have memberships and stuff put in place is because like we want to encourage that. We want to encourage that, you know, we've done damage to our body. We all have, right? And maybe even more so like where we're at than other places based off of the pesticides and herbicides and BPA, all these different things that we take on, that it's not going to happen overnight. If it took us this long to get here, it's going to take a good amount of time to get back to where we need to be, right?
Exactly, that's it.
And so I think that the membership is intended for somebody that wants to really do the full repair and reach that highest level of good health, because that's going to come, like you said, over a long period of time. Not like you're coming to the center and you're doing 3 sessions of hyperbaric a day, but if you could do it once a week for the next years, it becomes a part of your regimen. Like, it could change everything, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So like for me, Catania, when I started thinking about like, you know, to the point of like Parker and having this like realization that, okay, if the body caused it, we can fix it, which that's kind of how I saw it. Wasn't like a bad thing. It was like, this is a good thing. And this is where you know, like I believe, and Coach Cal, I love how this is like a scripture that he kind of like continued to repeat, which is like what the enemy means for evil, God means for good, right? Yeah. And I think for one, like this whole conversation, the health center downstairs, that never happens without what happens to Parker, right? Now, I would never sit back and wish that would happen. Of course not. Nobody wishes for anything that they have to struggle and go through in life. But when you put it in God's hands, He'll take it and make it so much better than what would have ever come if that didn't happen in the first place. Yeah. And so for me, I started thinking like, even my kids, my family, Dave and Gina, I'm like, you guys are going to live way longer now because they're in the red light bed like every morning at 6 a.m. I get here and Dave's, you know, in the bed. And like I guess how I see it is that the preventative part of it, like the work part of it, for one, most of the time I know that by nature myself and people don't change until it gets so bad that you are like, okay, I got to change. Right. That could be with your relationship with your spouse. When I was 19, I first got married, I was a complete idiot because I was 19 and I didn't know how to be a husband.
19 is crazy to get married.
I know.
That's awesome.
Right. Well, but it was like a lot of like work and because I was so hard-headed and I didn't know how to be at the right, like I didn't make changes until we were like, all right, we don't want to be together any longer. And that's when I started to see God, and then our marriage is now, it's been 17 years, right? Yay. And so, but that's how it works, right? Even with with all these areas, right? People usually don't maybe turn to God until like their life hits that rock bottom, you know, and which is it's like we're more motivated to do something when the pain is so great.
Yeah, absolutely.
My thought though is like, what if we could do something like preventatively and put the right disciplines in place where we hedge against something that would have came but doesn't come because we've done these therapies and we've chosen to make some different changes. Can you kind of explain how the hyperbaric chamber, red light bed, and molecular hydrogen kind of work together and help really prime your body against maybe an ailment or inflammation or these things that would come if you didn't proactively kind of attack it, so to speak?
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to speak really quick on what you were saying. Like sometimes these shoves or the illnesses that we get are kind of God's wake up call, right? And we're stubborn, right? Yeah. I'm stubborn, I know, you know. And so I was reading in Genesis when he's because I am doing the 1 year Bible.
Okay, let's go.
But when he's gonna destroy Sodom and Gomorrah, and he goes and the angels tell Lot, get out, right? God's gonna destroy this, and he's like, wait, like he doesn't want to let go of it, right? And then they tell him a second time, they're like, get out. And then he's like, no, wait, I'm going to wait for my daughter's fiancés, right?
Yeah.
And then what happens is like the angels literally grab him and they're like, you're leaving, right? And I think sometimes we're like that. Like we're like, we get the information or we get these things from the Lord where it's like, hey, like take care of this. And we don't do it. Take care of this and we don't do it. And then it's like, and then when something bad happens, we're like, oh, why is this happening? And it's like, dude, I told you to get out. Like
right.
I gave you a way out, right? So I just want to quickly address that because it's so true for everybody. And even like back then it was going on, but in a different way, right? And so I feel like the Lord has given us these tools that we can utilize to be proactive. He's given us a way out of these long-term diseases that we might see in the future, but are we going to use them, right? So one of the main things that I work in is the hyperbaric chamber. I've been super blessed to work with some people who are way smarter than me and just learn every day about the chamber and what it can do for someone. The idea behind the chamber is that a gas under pressure becomes a liquid. You learn that, I think, in your first science class in freshman year. And so what happens is when we pressurize the environment that you're in and you breathe concentrated oxygen, that oxygen seeps into the liquid part of your blood plasma, where normally it's carried on your hemoglobin, right? Your hemoglobin move in the plasma kind of like a lazy river, right? An inner tube in a lazy river. Well, now you have oxygen in the river, and then you also have oxygen being carried on the hemoglobin. So this is able to perfuse to different areas in the body that maybe lack blood flow. And then also it can get into the tissues. It gets pushed into the cells. Your cells need oxygen to make energy, ATP, right? And so all of this, the different delivery of the oxygen has profound effects on the body, A to Z. There's over 5,600 mechanisms of action that are triggered in the chamber. But one of the main ones that we see for someone who's doing it proactively is that energy production, right? If we're constantly running on low battery or we don't have enough ATP to lend towards injuries that we might be accumulating, and when I say injuries, doctors talk about inflammation as the silent killer, right? So stress, lifestyle, food we put in, all kinds of things, even good stress, right? Emotional things like that, they're all accumulating inflammation in our body because our bodies were beautifully made and they trigger an inflammation response to different stressors. So this accumulated over a lifetime is why we see these terrible disease happen, right? But your body has the capability to heal that given enough energy, right? So, but if we are constantly on low energy just because of life and different things, then we're not able to have enough of that ATP or that cellular energy to lend towards that healing process. So now we're constantly at an energy deficit. The body's reacting, it's accumulating, and then all of a sudden, now you're hit with this diagnosis, and then you have to try to address that. And then now again, you're kind of in this cycle because now the body wants to heal that, doesn't have enough energy. So a big thing is the energy production in our systems. We need it to breathe, talk, move, do everything we need to do, but your body needs it to repair as well. And even if you can't see the damages, they're occurring just because of the way we live. That was a long explanation.
That was so good. that was really, really good. Probably the easiest for me to, I think, understand as far as making sense of it, right? I think that was really well said and easy for somebody that's trying to get their mind around what that actually does and how it works. I feel like that was really, really well delivered. And it's kind of like, it's almost scary if you think about it, because it's like, we're going around and most people have felt like fatigue, because a lot of it with that energy, it's like if you just feel like you're fatigued each day, right? Or you get tired. I know that we've had, Grace come in and she had, she's 18 years old. She had a lot of different, like symptoms that have come from like the COVID, virus that she had. And, and one of them was fatigue. Like she just was really tired. I was talking to her, and she's like, I would get home from school and go to sleep for 6 hours, right? Like I would sleep like the entire day, and then go back to sleep at night. And she's been in the center for about 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks now, maybe 10 weeks, and she's like, my energy's back. Like she's not taking naps, and she's not so fatigued, and that's the thing, that we don't know what we don't know, and we just become okay with it.
Right.
It's just like, oh, this is what it is. Like, this is just how I feel. Like, this is,
Right.
And that's the scary part, is when we get to that point where we just accept, like, oh, I just feel tired, or I just feel this, or I just feel that. And I feel like there's so many people that have not taken maybe and been exposed to maybe some words of wisdom or some direction to know, like, no, you can feel better. No, that's not the way you were designed. No, that's not what God's intended your health to feel like. It's not his desire. And I feel like these are the words that, for anybody watching, it's like, okay, if you feel like that, there's a solution. Like there's and what you talked about, Catania, is the root. Like, this is not like, hey, drink a Monster and you're gonna not be fatigued, right? like whatever drink a Bang and you're gonna be fine. Like, no, that's not doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
That's no different than a doctor trying to give you a pill to fix something.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, maybe you're awake more for that minute, but everything that's the shortcut or addressing a symptom, in my mind, this goes to faith, finances, fitness, everything. There's always a greater receipt on the back end that comes with compound interest that's going to be well outweighing your potential little short-term payoff, right?
Sure.
I love that quote that says, short-term pain, long-term gain, short-term gain, long-term pain. And I feel like we're in a society with delayed gratification not being valued any longer, and instant gratification being so prized that it's like, oh, I want short-term gain. Well, dude, you're stacking up compound interest that works against you, debt that works against you, that you're going to have to pay. The note's coming due, right? Right. And I think that's the thing that this is addressing. It's like, no, there's a better way. Let's address the root of it all, and then all of a sudden you can start to feel better. And then the crazy thing is, like, as I'm listening to Catania, like, it's like, okay, we start to build this familiarity, so to speak, with the way we feel. And now it's like exposure therapy. We've been exposed to it so long, we just take it on as like, this is who I am.
Yeah.
Like, this is my health identity, so to speak.
Yeah.
And then it continues to slowly get worse and worse and worse, and we don't notice it because it's so gradual, right? No different than, a lot of times it's hard to notice, like, changes in your physical body because you see yourself every day after even months and months where there is changes taking place. You bump into somebody you haven't seen for months, like, dude, you look really good. It's like, well, I do? It's like I didn't notice. Fool, you're looking at yourself every day. You didn't notice. It was so gradual. And the scary thing is, like, I feel like it's just, it could happen so gradual. And then all of a sudden there was all these red flags going off that were trying to alert you, like, no, you got to make some adjustments here. That then you wake up with this disease that you now got to battle because a note became due.
Right.
So, I mean,
reap what you sow, right?
Exactly.
The Bible promises that, and that can be a good thing,
or
and
bad.
It can be a bad thing, right? So.
Yeah, it's got me thinking. All right, so all right, what other some other benefits for somebody that's like, hey, I've heard about red light. I mean, it's obviously something that I feel like, and thank God it's getting a lot more exposure now. I mean, I feel like even with, like, with Robert Kennedy, right?
Oh yeah.
And what his kind of mission is, and there's just more people talking about, like, hey, let's make America, healthy again. I think that's like the mantra, and that's a beautiful thing. Now, with that said, there's going to be, like, so false prophets, so to speak, that are going to try to attack it in the wrong thing. I guess it gets me thinking about, I was talking to a buddy and I was telling you about this, how he does, like, TikTok shop and stuff like that and sells different merchant, different things and products for different companies. And he was telling my buddy, he's like, dude, it's the biggest scam ever with, like, supplements right now. Like, there's no really regulation. And so there could be a supplement that really will help somebody address maybe a root cause that's leading to these things we're speaking about.
Mm-hmm.
But most of the time, he's like, they're garbage. Like the stuff they put in is just garbage, and they're making them the most money as possible. Like our food, like it's easier and cheaper to make it certain ways.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like profit over people, right?
Right.
And the same thing what I've seen in supplements is like it could be profit over people.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, obviously you guys have got different supplements, and the reason why you've designed them is so that way you know what's going in them,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That we offer as well. But a lot of this stuff's becoming more aware. I feel like people are going to be more aware, and there's going to be the ability for them to actually take their health to the next level.
For sure.
If you can kind of talk about maybe the root of like why red light works a little bit more,
Sure.
and then also like what are some things that they could experience as far as maybe good fruit that comes from the red light bed.
Yeah, sure. Where do I start? I love the red light bed. I'm also the person at like 6 a.m. on the red light bed.
I've been doing that in the methylene blue before I go.
I do the methylene blue every morning in a cup of electrolytes.
Okay.
I'm experimenting a little bit on myself. I'm doing a mad
I like
scientist.
that. Well, yeah, let me know how it works. I'm doing just I do the water, but I do it in hydrogen water.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Yeah,
So,
very
I mean,
good.
I got my jug every morning. Angelica will see it there. She's like, is this thing been done yet or not? Because I'll leave it there, I'll forget, and it's like baking in the sun.
Yeah.
But I'll bring my gallon of water in my glass jar, and when I go in the chamber, I have the machine that we've got making it hydrogen water.
Nice.
You know, and so I
love
put it in that.
Yeah. Yeah. I do the hydrogen religiously too. I'm like on that every day. And that, like I will sit on the hydrogen for 30 minutes and I'll lay back and I'm so relaxed, and it has such a profound effect on my body that I'll fall asleep and I'll dream just for 30 minutes. It's a 30-minute treatment.
Wow.
But I'm just so like relaxed, and it's a. I mean,
Well,
I know
start
what
there.
it's addressing.
Start there. Let's start there then, and then we'll go into the red light. Like
Yeah.
start with the hydrogen machine.
So our bodies produce free radicals, right? And it's a response to environment. It's a response to, again, we're talking about stress. And we need a certain amount of free radicals in our body, right? But what happens is when we have too much, right? Too much of anything is going to be a bad thing, okay? And so when we produce too many free radicals, they start to become damaging to the body. So they're an incomplete atomic structure, so they'll attach to the first thing that's going to complete their atomic structure. What the hydrogen does, and then what that does is it becomes something foreign that the body recognizes. And so the body, again, we're talking about an inflammation or inflammatory response, the body will attack it, right? Well, now you're compounding inflammation due to the stress. So with the free radicals, what the hydrogen does is we break down the water into its molecular components. And what you guys do here at the center, what we do down at our center is you can either inhale it or you can infuse it into some water and you can drink it. The H2 now is also an incomplete atomic structure. So when you have two incomplete, they attract, and now they become a complete atomic structure, and it's not something that your body is recognizing as harmful or foreign. And so it's proactively getting rid of these free radicals in your system. That way we can, hedge against this inflammatory response that will eventually happen if you're accumulating too many. That's one of the mechanisms. It's also a powerful antioxidant, stimulates all kinds of cytoreactive proteins in your body. So anyone who's sick or anyone who doesn't want to be sick, right, to proactively do it. I know Giovanna was telling me that she hasn't been sick for like 8 years or something like that. Like, that's crazy. Like, everybody gets sick during flu season, right? So that's kind of in a nutshell what the hydrogen is doing. And then beyond that, you're just talking about delivery, right? You can inhale it, which is a little bit quicker delivery, right? And you get a little bit more when you're inhaling it. And there is a therapeutic amount. So our machines at our place and then your place are delivering the correct amount, so what's going to be therapeutic for the body. And then you can drink it, right? Which is going to last a little bit longer because it moves through your system a little bit slower, but you don't get quite as much of the hydrogen. So, and then there's also
what are the fruits that come from that?
From
the drinking the hydrogen water, doing that? Like, what are some of the things that somebody could physically experience, like the symptoms that come, the good fruit that comes from that?
One of the things that I've seen at our clinic is, first of all, like stress. Everybody feels stress. I have people who proactively do the hydrogen all the time, like generally less stressed. And that's just from them telling me that. Something outward that I typically see is like something like skin color or like skin lesions even. When people have, like, skincare is such a big industry, and they want you to put all these things on your face, and which a lot of times are toxic, but really what that's coming from is something internal. And so the hydrogen, I see a lot like the skin color, and then also like used over time, like skin lesions and skin health. That's like another one that I could like pinpoint and say like, oh, there was a marked improvement with that.
What about like overall like brain health and like, because I've had people say like, I just think clearer.
Sure, like brain fog.
Yeah.
It will have effects on that too. I've heard that as well. We have like goggles you can put on with the hydrogen, and then even like earphones. So we've treated people who have had stroke or blindness in the eyes with the hydrogen, and they're like, we've seen them be able to get vision back, which has been nuts.
That is crazy.
Or hearing back, which is it's just insane, right? But it makes sense, because if your body has basically triggered an inflammation response and you're working to mitigate that, then you're going to see the fruits of that as well, right? But the fruits in a better way.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, even if somebody looks at, I was looking this up real quick on like ChatGPT, right? So you can say, act like a health expert, let me know, and it's saying exactly what you're saying. And it says collagen boost for skin. So it's like, if you're looking to look better in 2025, right? I know everybody's trying to like, anti-aging or whatever it's called. Like, that's like a big industry nowadays. And a lot of times, again, it's like, there's so many things you could be doing. And a lot of times it's like, is it doing more harm than good?
Right. Yeah.
That's the question you got to ask yourself. Like, sure. And obviously with these things, like the benefits, there's no negative to it. It's working on the cellular side of it. And so it says improve skin health, may improve hydration and reduce inflammation in skin conditions like eczema, acne. We've had quite a few people come to the center, go in the red light bed and use a molecular hydrogen for acne.
Oh yeah. There you go.
And it says reduces oxidative damage caused by UV exposure and environmental toxins, promoting healthier, more youthful looking skin. So that's a good thing.
And anti-aging is, people use that term as like, let me throw this serum on, let me go get Botox. Don't get Botox, use the red light.
Wait, did you tell me about the study?
Yes, there's an awesome study done with the red light.
With collagen production?
Yeah.
What is that?
So the red light... Okay, so I'll talk a little bit about the red light. So the red light, again, is just one of those things that we basically are taking what the Lord said to use, and we're using it for our bodies, right? The way they discovered red light was, there was a doctor who was working at a wound. He was working in the wound care clinic, and he had all these people who had wounds that weren't healing, and they're doing antibiotics, they're doing all these things, and nothing, they're not healing. And what he did was he opened up a wing of the clinic that was a balcony, and he put lawn chairs on the balcony and had them face the sun, and he prescribed sunlight. Now this was back in the 1800s. Now, because of what we've done to our environment and what we've done to our atmosphere, how the sun is fragmented now, and then also the way that we live all indoors all the time, we don't get that sun exposure, and the sun isn't really what our bodies need it to be anymore. So what they've done is they've kind of harnessed the power of the sun in red light, right? So the red light has different frequencies. The bed that you have, the frequencies range from 630 nanometers to 940 nanometers. So you're talking red light to deep infrared light. The higher the frequency of the light, the farther it penetrates into your system. with like the collagen production, right? Your system, if we were to think of it kind of like a 3-layer cake, right? You have your surface layer when you're talking about like bacteria and things like that you were putting on your skin. And then you have like this second layer that goes into your skin. Now you're talking about like your collagen matrix. So, and then the third layer, now you're talking about like cells and penetrating deeper. Now you're talking about energy production and things like that. So these beds and the lights that you have in your clinic are outfitted with amber lights that are around 600 nanometers. Those have been researched and proven that specific frequency of light to strengthen that collagen matrix. And then it'll lengthen elastin as well and increase the collagen production in your body. So, and what that does is it's kind of like a natural Botox, right? Like you're naturally keeping the elasticity and the firmness of your skin. But again, it's not just a quick injection. Like those results, the results of that light, the research that they did is they found that they're immediate, but they're cumulative. So what that means is like you do a treatment and you will immediately see the benefits, right? I think it's between 3 and 24 hours is what the benefits like in your skin will look like, but used over time become permanent. So like anytime I have a girlfriend going on a date, I'm like, hey, I'll hook you up. Like,
there you go.
Use the light, right?
I did not know that. That's pretty good.
Mm-hmm. So,
so you're saying I'm going to save like $3,000 a year for my wife's Botox?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
This is good.
For sure.
This is good.
Yeah. So, you have an anti-aging light here, which is outfitted with those amber lights that'll really, it helps. And then the study that they did, I think it was 40 different women. They studied over the course of 8 weeks, and they had the ladies for 8 weeks using these, so this specific brand, they had them using these lights on their face 5 times a week. And then after the 8 weeks, the ladies went down to a maintenance protocol of 2 to 3 times a week. And what they saw was 100% of the women they measured. They have tests where they can like measure how many wrinkles in your face. Mm-hmm. So 100% of the women saw a reduction in wrinkles that were already present. And then they all saw a lengthening in the elastin and then an uptick in their collagen as well.
Wow.
Which in my background is math, like when do you ever get 100% of anything?
Yeah, you don't. Yeah, never. Yeah. It's like it's always like 99.9. You know, like it's like, is that 100? Like, what's the 0.1 missing? Yeah, but 100%. That's great. And awesome. and I love the fact that it's permanent though, mm-hmm. right? So it's like you start to do that, and you're gonna have the permanent benefits of it. Where like a lot of these other treatments, for one, there's a lot of toxins that you're putting in. Mm-hmm. Like Botox by its nature is a toxin, right? Yeah, don't do Botox. But like that's not permanent. How do you know? Because like in 6 months you got to go do it again. That's how you know, right? It's not permanent. You got to continue to do it over and over and over again. And we have different wands and stuff that we've got in the center that you could use even at the house, right? That you can mm-hmm. continue to have that be there for the maintenance part of it. Yeah. But I love that. So big for anti-aging. Mm-hmm. What are some other like fruits that the red light bed will start to be evident in somebody's life and in their health as they continue to do it consistently? Yeah.
Again, we're talking about energy production. So we're chromophores. So we absorb light and we can convert it into energy. So the best way I ever heard the light bed explained was a doctor, and she told me every cell in your body has a battery, and the red light bed is going to recharge every single one of those batteries. So it's energy production. It's also a reduction in inflammation for our, there's a lot in America, actually worldwide, really, thyroid is a big problem. And there's some current research that has come out with the red light and the thyroid specifically in hypothyroidism, where you can do a once-a-year protocol on the red light to actually repair the thyroid. So we see a lot of benefit, and that plays into, again, now you're talking about energy and but overall health too. So it's got all kinds of benefits. I could probably sit here and list them for for the rest of the podcast.
We'll put it down too in the details so you guys can see the benefits. And for somebody that's like, okay, well, why do my cells need to be recharged? Like, okay, they're a battery. What does my cells matter, right? Like, sure. What do the cells matter?
All right. So if you are using your phone, right, and you're on low power mode, right, your phone has like 20% battery or less, you have to pick and choose what you want to use the energy on, right? You're like, ooh, do I get directions to make my way home? Or do I make this phone call, right? You have
listen
to decide,
music,
right? Can I listen to music, right? So you're picking and choosing what you're going to use the energy for. But if your phone's on 100%, you're like, I'm going to get directions here. I can listen to music. I can make a phone call. I can write in my notes. I can send a text message, hopefully not while you're getting directions and driving. But you have the energy to do everything you need to do and beyond that, right? And our bodies are the same way. So if we're constantly in this low power mode where we don't have enough energy, the body is it has to pick and choose what it wants to expend energy on. So you're talking about organ function. You're talking about like activity throughout the day. You're talking about cognitive function, right? So if it's picking and choosing, a lot of times you'll be depleted in those areas. But if you're at 100% battery, your body's like, oh, I'm going to operate 100% here, 100% here, 100% here, because it has the stores that it needs to do that. So as far as like just overall health is what you need that energy for. ATP is the energy currency of your body. You can't do anything in life without it. And that is internal as well. Like when we're talking about like organ function and stuff like that, like organ health, you need energy to operate those things.
That's so good. That was the best answer I've ever heard. And I've looked at that. Was really, really good. I mean, I love the analogy with the phone because I think most people are like, oh, I get that. Because at first it's like, well, what does it really matter if my cells are operating? Like, how does that impact my quality of life? Well, that's exactly what it does. And so I love that. Great answer. So anybody that's on here that says, hey, I want to continue to develop, educate, and get a little bit smarter with these different things. Is there any kind of like a book or something you would say, hey, this is a good resource to maybe kind of dive into this. This will kind of help you get a little bit more cognizant of it?
Keep watching Paul's podcast. There's a ton of books out there. I'm an avid reader. I also think talking to people. I think though, to say like a warning against, there is a lot of information. We talked about this at the beginning of the podcast. There's a lot of information out there. And a lot of people are trying to sell a product without your best interest in mind. The Bible says, and I know that my dad has said this before too, is it's to the glory of kings to search out a matter, right? So in whatever information that you're taking in, like back it up, like check out the sources, look into it yourself. There's a great book that I recommended to you guys, The Oxygen Revolution. That one really outlines hyperbaric therapy and the different conditions that it can be used for. There's a big thing too that I have been reading a lot about too is the methylene blue. There's a lot of information about methylene blue out there. There's a couple people on YouTube that I think do a good job, but I don't necessarily like know them off the top of my head, but I don't know. We might have to link that too.
Yeah, we'll link that as well because I think that is the greatest struggle. Like I said in the beginning of the podcast, like for me, I just really wanted to have a place where I could place my faith and trust that hey, this is going to work. And I feel like the information overload is a real thing. Like there's so much out there. And so much contradiction as well, where it's like, wait, I was so convinced that was the right thing to do. I should be only this diet based, right? And then no, I think I should only be this. Like, there's so much contradiction that, and I love the way you put it. Like, it's for you to go out there and search that matter, right? Like, you do the due diligence, and you see how it maps out. And I love the philosophy and the motto of the Treigning Lab, which is treat the body the way God intended and watch the miracle take place. And that's the truth. Like the answer for all of us, the answer for everything in our life goes back to the owner's manual, which is the Bible, right? Like we were created in his image, and he gave us a manual to follow to be able to go out there and level up our life. And so if you ever got a question like, I don't know, well, you could even, if you want, you're like, I don't know how to search and find out the Bible's big. Okay, fair. Well, you can chat GPT, like, show me a scripture links to this, and it'll show it to you, right? I mean, that's a beautiful thing. As much as there's some negative things about the tech and stuff like that we have, and the phone and what we can look at in one device, but there's also some good ways to use it, just like anything. There's good and bad with everything. The question is, are you using it for good, or are you being taken advantage of it? Is it using you, right? You need to be using it. Yeah. And so
don't let it be your brain. Like, don't let other people be your brain for you.
I like that. I do like that. So. Well, I'll tell you this much. This has been, for me, really great. I took a lot from it, and I mean that. Like, it was really simply communicated. I think you took a complex thing and simply broke it down. And I think that this is the stuff, guys, that will make the greatest difference for you to go out there and get to the next level. These basic disciplines, it's kind of like, let's look at it. We got diet, we got fitness, we've got these different health modalities, right? There's some things you can take out, things you need to put in. I mean, you've been exposed to a lot of that today. Now the question is, what are you going to do with it, right? Right? It's like, I love the scripture, and I've been really meditating on this a lot. Like the man that came and was laying a foundation and dug deep. One person, they came, they heard, and they did. And when the stream came, when the wind beat, not if, it wasn't like, if it happens, it's like, oh no, life's going to suck. There's going to be giants. There's going to be things that are going to come your way. It's inevitable. But it's the one that executed that it didn't shake it. And in fact, not only did it not shake it, but I believe in the not shaking part of it, it was a testament of like, this is what it should look like when you build your life the right way, on the word, on the truth. But the other person, they came, they heard, just like the other person. Maybe they're in the same class, they're on the same podcast, the same room, right? They both came, they heard, but that person didn't do anything. And it was like they built their foundation on the sand, to which when the stream came and beat vehemently, immediately the house fell. And it says that the ruin was great. And I feel like that's our choice. That God loves us enough to give us the ability to choose. Are we going to do the work? Are we going to put the work in? Are we going to execute? And so we do have some great memberships at the health center. The reality is, and do your research, right? I was talking to Catania, she's like, your price really, really low. Yeah. And you guys are priced really, really low down in Orange County, and especially when you compare, like, just look it up and do some research, it's like significantly lower. But my desire is, like, I know where I'm at here in the high desert, I want to be able to help you guys get in here and see the benefits, get the benefits. I've always said this from the beginning, this is more of a passion project for me. This isn't a profit project. I have other businesses and different ventures that is something that's very important, because you got to be profitable to stay in business. But for this, it's like, if we could just keep this thing moving, we want to serve more people. We want to have more people come through the door, be impacted, and see the change and transformation in their life. And so we'll have a link below as well, as far as the website, where you can go take a look at that. We also have it set up where any child that has cancer, we have it set up where it's free. You can use the health center for free. We were blessed to have that from you guys when Parker went through that, and it was one of our, I feel like God put on my heart, like, hey, let's open those doors for anybody that's got a child that's going through something that is really just terrible. You can come to the center, use the health modalities, and it's not going to cost you anything. And so take a look at the website, look at the different packages. I believe that's something that's set up where you can do it each month continuously, not for just 6 months, not for a year, but this is a part of, like, a lifestyle. Like, this is your lifestyle change. Like, okay, every month from here on out, I'm going to make these health modalities a part of my regimen, so I can go ahead and get my body back in a position where it can thrive and it can be healthy and whole. And so, Catania, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
This is worth one to watch again and again. If you didn't share this, you're probably selfish. I mean, it is what it is. Like, you got to work yourself out with that, because this is one worth sharing. Make sure you guys comment, and if there's certain things that you want us to kind of talk about and address, like, let us know. We'd love to be able to unpack that and really speak directly to you and provide value directly to you as well. And so make sure to subscribe also. So guys, hey, we love you. Go out there, be strong, stay steadfast, and let's get to the next level. Take care, guys.